Hi, the question we have today to delve into is how can sports psychology improve athletic performance? The mind is crucial to being able to perform at your very best, no matter what level you're performing at. It is crucial to understand the workings of the mind and its impact on your performance, and we're going to delve into that today. First part of this video, we're going to look at state management, the crucial idea of being able to manage your emotions, manage your state. Second part of this video, we're going to look at how you go about reflecting on what you've done and growing so that you can improve and you can strive for that idea of constant and never-ending improvement. Third part of this video, we're going to be talking about thinking patterns and how to manage those and control those and their impact on your ability to perform optimally. Fourth part of this, we're going to look at different psychological tools you can do to perform at your best, to reach your full potential, and to manage your emotions so that you can achieve the goals that you set for yourself. And lastly, of course, we will look at a real-life example of somebody who utilized sports psychology to reach the top of her game. So state management is crucial for athletes. You need to be able to get into that flow state, get into the zone as consistently as possible. It is very easy to get knocked out of that state. It's much more difficult to get into it and maintain that and do so consistently. Using baseball as an example, the difference between a 300 hitter and a 250 hitter, besides being an all-star and just an average kind of player, is about one hit every 3 games. The ability to be able to get into that zone where that baseball looks to be bigger, to move slower, where you can see the ball better, is state related. When you can get into that zone state more consistently and maintain that state more consistently, the more likely it is that you're going to see the ball well enough to get those extra hits, that one extra hit that you need every 3 games in order to raise that average over the course of a season. So state management is vitally important. One of the things that is often overlooked in this state management, because they will talk about tools like visualization and all, but it's your belief systems. It's what you believe about who you are as an athlete and what you're capable of. You need to take inventory of those. You need to find those limits that you've artificially placed on yourself, the labels that you've given yourself that don't necessarily affect who you are as an athlete. You have to look at your past. This is so overlooked in athletic mental training and sports psychology. It's looking into your past and learning to clean it up, discovering what's there. This is virtually ignored, or you just try to override the past, which can work. It can be effective, but not nearly as effective as if you clean it out. So sports psychology can also really help teach an athlete how to go about reflecting and growing, how to learn from their everyday practice routines, how to analyze what they're doing, to step back so that they can pinpoint the things that they really need to work on. I can tell you a story of 2 friends of mine who both got a chance to play minor league baseball. One of them was super talented. He had, at one time, he was the college, he went to the University of Maine, and he was the all-time home run hitter at the University of Maine. He got drafted when he was out of college. He was big, he was athletic, he could really hit well. And he had told me that when he got to the minor leagues, he didn't really know how to work. That baseball had come so easy to him, he just worked. But when he got to the minor leagues, he really needed to try to work his game. Now his college friend and teammate ended up playing minor league baseball on the same team as him. He had signed as a free agent out of the Cape Cod League. And he had always had to work. He really always worked his game. And he had told me that no, Billy worked. He worked as hard as the rest of us. He was out there taking extra BP, extra ground balls, all that. The difference, though, was Billy had worked really hard by taking extra BP and extra ground balls and all those kind of things. But he didn't know how to go about analyzing his game to really figure out what he needed to do specifically to get better. Just taking extra practice is not the same as reflecting and growing. And that's something that Mike was able to do and eventually led him to a 14-year career in the MLB. Another overlooked thing in traditional sports psychology is the power of discovering strategies that you run internally. A strategy is essentially a computer program. For example, decision-making pattern or decision-making strategy might be the most important one for athlete, no matter the sport. Decisions need to be made, and they can usually need to be made quickly. Whether you're a basketball player, a soccer player, a hockey player, team sports in particular, but really any sport, there's decision-making process that goes on quickly within the heat of competition. So understanding how your brain does that, how does it make that decision that you need to make in the heat of competition, is really important, because if you do not have an efficient one, if that one really isn't working that well, if sometimes you look back and go, oh man, I made a bad decision there, and you're finding yourself like doing that maybe more often than you would like to, well, how do you improve that? You've got to improve that by looking at that strategy, that mental thinking process that you're going through. When you understand how that's done and the steps that your brain is going through, then you can potentially interrupt a pattern that's not working well and put in a better pattern. But until you know it and recognize it and understand that, you're kind of stuck in trying to figure that out in less efficient ways. Let me just talk about 3 very powerful and important tools that athletes should make part of their life, part of their routines and rituals. One of them, anchoring, is state management related. So an anchor is simply a stimulus that you are applying outside of yourself. So things like a touch, and you see athletes doing that all the time, right? Different high fives, different gestures. If you watch an MLB game, guy just gets a double or a big hit, right? They are doing some sort of signal to their teammates. That's an anchor. They're trying to link that to the state they're in. So anchoring is a powerful one for state management, helping you get into the zone. That is something that should be routine. Visualization. Visualization can be used as part of anchoring. Visualization can be used for means of relaxing. Visualization can fill all kinds of important needs for an athlete to do and should be a must. Learning to visualize well is something that takes training. Really learning how to get inside that picture and how to fine-tune that picture to make that picture, that visualization, as real and as powerful as possible is crucial. Understanding the use of submodalities in that is something athletes need to learn how to do. Lastly, journaling. Journaling is an incredibly important and powerful way for managing your emotions, for learning, and for growing. Using some basic cognitive behavioral therapy techniques in your journaling practice and some powerful language patterns can really help you to discover and interrupt negative patterns of thinking, to reframe emotional situations that come up, struck out with the bases loaded, missed that big last second shot, something like that. You can check in by using the journaling, what you need to learn from that, how to manage the emotions from it. And in that journaling practice and learning how to ask the right questions, important thing is to recognize the importance of writing it down, actual handwriting, and how that whole is aided by this neurological connection. Writing things down improves just how well you learn and grow from those experiences. For a real life example, we're going to take a look at Serena Williams. Serena Williams is one of the great female tennis players, one of the great tennis players of all time. And Serena and her sister competed at very high levels, beginning at a very young age. At one point, 2011 or around 2011, she had really run into some real difficulties emotionally and managing the sport, and the pressures and all these things were beginning to wear on her, and her rankings dropped dramatically. She actually sought the help of one of my trainers, Tony Robbins, and he worked with her to help her, using a bunch of these techniques that we talked about, regain her mindset, to strengthen that mindset, regain that mental edge. Applying those techniques and seeking out that help, getting that sports psychology type work where she was able to let go of the emotions and learn to manage her state better, and separate the athletics from the other things that are going on in her life. She was able to rise herself back up in the rankings, reclaim her old form, and go on to win a whole lot more Grand Slam titles and become a living legend. Please consider subscribing to this channel and check out our other videos. But you also might be very interested in registering for our free webinar, The Psychology of Winning, which will go into several of these things that we talked about today. The link to that webinar will be found in the description for this video. So register for that today and check that webinar out.